wanted to play college football one day. And after a lot of hard, long hours with SAT tutors, in the weight room, I finally achieved my dream and came to Marist College. Now, I was blessed enough that I was able to receive a scholarship and I didn't have to pay. And I was also blessed enough that my family was financially well off enough that I didn't have to worry about, even if I did have to pay, I wouldn't have to worry about expenses and food and stuff like that. So I could say that the past 4 years at Marist College have been great. I definitely enjoyed playing football. I learned a lot on and off the field. But I want to take a step away from me and I want to talk about the bigger picture here. So envision yourself playing in front of 100,000 fans. They're going crazy. You just scored the game-winning touchdown. You're a hero. You're all over TV. You're all over SportsCenter. You're the talk of the town. You get back to your room. You open the fridge and there's nothing in there. You feel this sudden sense of, like, it just doesn't feel right. You're all over TV. Your awards, all these things are happening, yet you open your fridge and you can't even afford your next meal. So today I'm going to talk to you why I personally think college athletes should be paid, specifically football, but I think it should be done in a way that benefits them so that they're learning not only on the field, off the field as well. So I have a little presentation that I prepared. So first I'm going to talk about the history of college football. So college football started out, for those of you that don't know, in 1869 between Rutgers and Princeton. Now at first, it was just a way for teams to basically just come together, show school spirit, and just, have a friendly game. Now, 1903, Harvard builds the first stadium. So now you can see that 30 years later, football's starting to take center stage in America. It's starting to become a pastime, kind of like how baseball was. So more people are coming to the games. They need to fill the stands. So now it's not just about sport. It's not just about a pastime. Now it's becoming about money and revenue. So that's why they built the first stadium. Now fast forward 84 years. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled in NCAA versus Board of Regents in Oklahoma. Basically what this was prior to this incident, the NCAA, the whole entire college football spectrum, they had rights to every single school, and they had the rights to show them on television. So they ultimately chose who they wanted to show on television. So up until this point, schools couldn't decide with networks like with CBS, NBC, they couldn't decide if they wanted their game to be shown. They had to go to the NCAA first. So after this ruling, it allowed schools to negotiate contracts with networks. So now you have schools going out to CBS, all these places, and saying, "Hey, we're going to show 4 games a year for your school, and we're going to pay you a certain amount of money." So now it's starting to become. You can see that the sport is changing. It's changing to become more like a professional sport, but it still has the feel because the students are considered amateurs. So now, 2014, this year, Northwestern was the first college football team to ever attempt to unionize. Now what that did was, once they attempted to unionize, they were basically saying that we don't consider ourselves amateurs anymore. We have a 40-hour work week in school, and we put in 40 hours of work on the field as well. So we feel we should be compensated because most of the players couldn't eat, like I said, they couldn't even afford their own meals. So, a little bit about the NCAA. Last year, the NCAA made over $1 billion in revenue from all 132 Division I football teams. Now, that's $1 billion. And none of that money gets allocated to any of the players. And the players are actually the ones that are going out, and they're the reason they're making all this money, yet they see none of it. The top earning school was the University of Texas, $165 million. But like I said, each athlete is considered to be an amateur, so they can't see any of that money. So where is this money going? Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the scandals that have occurred in, I want to say, the past 100 years of college football. So, we're going to start with the University of Miami. In the 1980s, the University of Miami was considered the bad boys of college football. So basically what they did was they were recruiting players, but they were giving them benefits illegally. So, oh, I lost my train of thought. So basically they would go to an impoverished area and say to a player, listen, we know that you can't afford to come to our school, but you're a great athlete. You come to our school, there'll be a new Range Rover in your driveway by the time you graduate. And that's how they would get these players to come to the school. Now, the problem with that is, back then, the reason this wasn't front and center stage is because of social media and the transitions that we've made and progress that we've made. But back then, nobody had Twitter, nobody could say, hey, like, University of Miami just called me and said they want to give me a new car. So everything was done under the table. Same thing with Cam Newton, the player in the bottom left. His dad shopped him around to multiple schools and said, if my son's going to go to your school, you have to pay me $150,000. So my argument is all of this is going on in the sport anyway. You can deny it all you want and say, hey, like, we can try to put tabs on it, but you can see just 5 scandals that have rocked college football, and there's many more that have never been discovered and probably won't be discovered. So my argument and proposition is, if this is happening, why don't we just legitimize it so that everything's out in the open? Because at the end of the day, this is happening already. We've seen it happen. The only time you hear about it is when it comes in the media. When you don't hear about it, that's when you know something's not good. Because the only time it comes out is when there's a scandal. So what I'm saying and proposing is, if you're paying these college students anyway, you might as well do it in a way that legitimizes them and maximizes their potential as students and as players. So, like I said, most players and their families live below the poverty line. If you legitimize it and pay them out in the open and develop a payment plan, now everything's out in the open. So you don't have to worry about coaches going under the table and saying, hey, we're going to pay for your mom's apartment, or a booster is going to send you $10,000 a month if you continue to come to our school. So the cons: you're already getting an education and being compensated. You're an amateur. And how do we determine what is a fair amount of compensation? Okay, why they should be paid. Like I said, frankly, they're already being paid. It's almost like something that people don't want to talk about. It's like a hush-hush thing, but it's happening already. So if we legitimize it, it benefits everybody. My proposition is, you individualize players by using incentives, but in the process benefit the greater common good. So if you say to each player, listen, we want you to come to our school. We're going to put together a package for you. Based on how you do throughout the semester, you can earn incentives. So just say you earn a starting spot on our team and you work really hard. Part of your package is going to be allocated to you throughout the semester. So it's almost like they're getting rewarded. So not only will they get rewarded on the field, but I propose that they will get rewarded in the classroom based on their GPA. So now you have players. In the past, the scandals were that they weren't going to class and they were having people do their essays for them. Now you have them incentivized. They want to go to class because they know that if they go to class, they can get that extra $1,000 added onto their tuition. So now am I done? Yeah.
1 minute.
1 minute? Okay. So how they should be paid. So they should be paid through a system that uses incentives to bring out the best in student athletes. I also said that the system can fine players if they do not perform up to par. So now they have penalties. They're learning to deal with real-life situations with money. Not every college athlete goes to the NFL, and I think this is a good way that it could set them up for the future, so that they're not just saying, hey, you're a great athlete, we're going to just pamper you, and we want you to do it. We're going to pay for everything, we're going to have people do your homework. No, they're saying, if you want this, you can get it, but you have to work for it. So it sets them up on a road for success. So plans for success. I said it. This is my last slide. Payment plans should only go to the schools that bring in a certain amount of revenue for the school. So we're not talking about a Marist college here. We're talking about like University of Texas, USC, schools that bring in like a lot of money that could be allocated to this certain fund.
That's your turn.
That's it? Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.